AskReddit, people who fetishized a city or country, like NYC, or Japan, and then actually took a leap of faith to move there. How has your opinion changed since? Into the Wild was my introduction to Alaska. I'm from the tropics. Met an Alaskan man. Visited in the summer. Loved it. Married the Alaskan man. Moved in the summer after. Finally found out what an interior Alaskan winter was like. Hated it. But husband will not move. Became a reverse Persephone. My cold-weathered husband sends me back to the land of hot weather for a month of the year. Still completely in love with the Alaskan summer. Paris. France. I studied French for a long time and eventually moved here to do my master's degree. I do love the city itself, always something to do. Amazing museums / art / culture / architecture, and even though like all cities it can be crowded / dirty sometimes, I still enjoy it. The thing that gets me is how hard it is to get to know and become friends with the French, Parisians in particular. They are perfectly polite, but if I didn't have a strong foreign student friend community here it would be much more difficult. There are always exceptions, of course. I have a handful of good French friends, but a big factor in why I don't think I can stay in Paris in the long term to settle down, maybe somewhere else in France would be better, is that the coldness can really wear you down. That. And also the bureaucracy. It's unreal. This post has taught me the big problem with any place is the people. Man. People will ruin any city. Just give them time. People. What a bunch of bastards. Moved to London with stars in my eyes. A year later. All I think now is how is no one speaks to each other and there's pigeons everywhere. Try speaking to people at the pub rather than on the tube. London is amazing if you are moving here as an established individual, able to afford rent of a complete dwelling and have a large disposable income to enjoy what the city has to offer. If you're starting your career, living in a house share in a crafty area scraping to make rent, forget it because you basically are a pigeon. I dreamed of living in NYC as a teen. I was drawn to the theater, the fashion, the excitement. Now I've been living in NYC for about 13 years. Basically my entire adult life. And I still love it, but my appreciation has changed. A lot of the things that initially attracted me require lots of money. But I've discovered so many new things and met so many wonderful people that I don't miss the loss of that fantasy. I still feel a thrill when I go running over one of the bridges and see the skyline. I love not driving. And being able to find practically any food or specialty shop I want. I am very plugged into the arts here and love to go to live music, readings, lectures, art shows, and performances. So many of which can be enjoyed for little or no money. I definitely see how city life doesn't appeal to many people, but whenever I think of leaving I can't imagine anywhere I might like better. I'm an American. Was a serious Irish dancer my whole childhood. I also play music. I wanted to move to Ireland and go to university there, Gamma. And I did. Overall, it was a great experience, especially in terms of local music / dancing and opportunities to learn more. But also I hated my degree program and ended up studying abroad and then transferring to a school in Canada, where I'm much better settled. I still pinch my pennies to go back to Ireland and visit my friends and stuff. But I'd never ever live there long term again. Also, I hate cold rainy weather and have asthmatic reactions to mold. So Ireland's climate was actively trying to kill me the entire time I was there. Good times. No regrets. But also wouldn't repeat. Edit. Did not expect my highest rated comment to be about my quarter life crisis. I hope no one from my actual life sees this, lol. I'm a small town Midwesterner who really romanticized California. Particularly coastal California. I had the opportunity to move there right after college and it was probably one of the best decisions I'd ever made. Things I liked. The weather was always perfect. Even on rainy days. The temperature was still mild. There was always something to do. There were so many different beaches and I never got tired of seeing the ocean. I did more hiking in the first year I lived there than I'd ever done in my home state. Lots of good shows and music around the Santa Cruz and SF area. So many good restaurants. Plus, it felt good to go back to my tiny ass town and tell people I moved to California. Things I disliked. It's expensive. The traffic is as bad as they say. There also seems to be an air of ignorance with, not all, but some, people native to the area. For instance, when I told people I was from Iowa, someone asked if we had electricity and running water. Another person chimed in that they had a cousin who lived in Montana, which is nowhere even close to Iowa. And most people had no idea where to even find Iowa on a map. When you're from a flyover state, you automatically learn which are the superior states because they get a lot of coverage in media and entertainment. New Orleans is deeper and broader than I imagined. 20 years later I have no regrets. Only memories that I reflect upon and smile. When I tell stories I have to leave things out, because the reality is unbelievable. Seoul, South Korea. It's my first experience in a big city, and am not disappointed. Public transportation is great. Food is amazing. I eat a lot of Japanese food here tbh. Depending on where you are in the city. Nightlife is crazy. And I find the older parts of the city to be absolutely beautiful. I know for those born and raised in the system it's a whole different story. But for a 20-year-old foreign student, I can say it's not half bad. As far as the negatives go, however, the lack of nature can be hugely depressing. I pay $400 a month for a 50 sq foot room. Dining alone can be difficult. And there's always trash everywhere in the streets. Honestly though, I think I had a decent grip on reality before coming here. People expect these places to be like an Instagram-esque dream world. But at the end of the day, it's just another place you wake up, do your groceries and pay your bills in. All that fun real life stuff. It is absolutely gorgeous. Had land there and spent time there during the downturn. The tourist thing wears off though. And although it is still an absolutely gorgeous place, the cost of living, the corruption in government, and seemingly like every contractor is trying to rip you off spoiled it for me as a long-term relo. Lived in Hawaii a few years ago and worked under a friend's family's contracting business. Can confirm that they try and rip off owners for anything and everything. Even going as far as doing half the work and disappearing with the money. Edit. Grew up doing masonry and landscaping type work my whole life. I know there's crap contractors all over. But it was on another level in Hawaii. Not as popular but Greece. My maternal grandparents are Greek. It's a big loud friendly group and had been my entire life. I had a several-month-long gap before grad school and a great aunt willing to house me, so I moved to Patras. The first few weeks were wonderful. I did all the tourist things, then I realized how forced all of it was. You can't just ever have a friend over, it has to be a major production. The food was wonderful, but every contractor or small business I interacted with took it at a point of pride to tack on added fees or try to scam me. I was stolen from multiple times. The older people, particularly the men, had no personal boundaries at all and their wives would hand wave off anything. Everything public that wasn't intended for tourists was falling to pieces. It was just very sad considering how proud I had been of my Greek roots until then. It was Finland for me. Rather weird country to obsess about. But I started learning the language in high school and fell in love with the culture. Went there for an exchange and was shocked at how close to paradise it was. Beautiful nature. Friendly and helpful people. Good quality food and more humane pace of life. It helped that I lived with a wonderful host family in a small town. The people you meet are a huge part of your experience in a place. Best part was getting to learn more Finnish. TLDR, Finland was exactly what I fantasized it would be. WTF, welcome to Finland. When did you move here and what city? Where did you move from? It's really odd to us Finns that people fantasize moving here. But I'm glad you enjoy the land of thousands of lakes. Seattle, WA. Spent my first 30 years living up and down the eastern seaboard from PA to GA. I was in grad school in SC and inexplicably Seattle just popped in my head one day, no trigger or anything. For the last 6 months of school, 2003. It just consumed me, sight unseen I needed to be there. So that's what I did. Got my degree. Packed up my car with no job, place to live or contacts and drove to Seattle. It could very well be a self-fulfilling prophecy, but it was everything I wanted it to be. The city has changed quite a bit with the Amazon explosion, but I'm glad I got to live some old Seattle. There's still plenty of treasure to be mined. Sure, the luster is gone, but I have a family now and still love to explore the city with my daughter. All my old haunts are gone, but the fun now is finding new haunts. It's what we make of it. I wanted to go to New Zealand since I was 10 and my best friend moved there. I finally went when I was 25 and got a 1-year working visa. It was awesome. I met my husband there. And saw my old friend again. It's still great. I would live there if they'd have me. Portland or. It was great for a while when the rent was cheap and the house I moved into was still populated by friends. After 3 years, the last of which all my friends had moved away, I realized that Portland is a really fun city. But also that cities in and of themselves are not for me. And that they are only bearable, for me, with friends. It was a great learning experience. If you can call having your car stolen and broken into all the time learning. At the initial cost, $300 a month for a room. It was fantastic. Working 4 days a week and paying all my rent with tips. Golden way to end one's 20s. It's a great city to visit. And the burbs aren't bad at all. I just got jaded and raw from living downtown. I'd gladly live there again if I had friends around and didn't have to park on the street. You can only convince yourself that a place is awesome for so long when you're by yourself and stepping over hobo scat and broken auto glass constantly. I traveled to Melbourne from Sydney a few times and always fantasized about moving. Did so last year. And haven't looked back. Only downside was it took a while to make friends. But it's a fantastic place. Lived in Japan. Besides the jump of having to make new friends, the anxiety of meeting new people and just putting yourself out there. It's actually a super nice place to live. Sure, the casual racism I experience on a daily really gets to you, but you're here to experience a culture and society vastly different from where you came, speaking a language that's considered stupid difficult for native English speakers. All in all, Japan's G. But it definitely isn't like the animes or mangas tell you it is. Experience it. Enjoy it and make your own conclusions. My conclusion: Osaka and GT, Tokyo, purely because of how much easier it is to get a conversation going with a Kansai person than a Kanto person. I was obsessed with Japan when I was in high school and my mom sent me there for an exchange year. At the time, Japan was known as a country with advanced technology and I had read that the taxis had doors that opened for the passenger. I thought it would be something like the Back to the Future / Tesla Model X doors. The biggest disappointment was that it was just a lever the driver pulls and it's an ordinary car. I had also read up a lot about a culture of perfection where even stray leaves were removed from gardens. Meals were perfectly balanced to the seasons. People were modest and crime was low. As a 16-year-old schoolgirl, I was molested twice walking home. My wallet was stolen. My host family preferred eating McDonald's. They had televisions running in every room of their house every waking hour and I was made fun of for reading books. I was supposed to be there for a year but was so homesick I left 3 months early. To be fair, a lot of that was because of my host family. We were pretty poorly matched. I later went to work in Hokkaido when I finished uni and had a great time there as the people are a lot more relaxed. I also really liked my school and particularly my tea ceremony teacher, who was an amazingly talented and kind lady. I now work for a Japanese company and my colleagues and boss are great. I've lived in both NYC and Tokyo. And both were / are incredible experiences. I had previously visited both cities for work / personal reasons. And since I was already somewhat familiar with each, I had them at the top of my gamma. don't need to live there list. However, what helped me embrace the cities was walking in with a renewed attitude, an open mind, and genuinely appreciating being different environment from the place I had called home. It could be something as simple as heading to the museum on discount days, going on a quest for a very particular dessert, or carefully sifting through the merchandise at the local family mart, convenience store. I made it a point to be a gamma friend of the city, as opposed to only trying to make friends with a social group. I'll take a small meal, even it's just homemade sandwich, sit at a park, and take in the surroundings on a long afternoon. I'm not rushing to get anywhere. I'm just perfectly content being right there in that moment, however long it takes. I also never walk back exactly the way I came, so that I'm constantly seeing something new and challenge myself to never eat the same thing twice in a day. I'm still in NYC, and it's teaching me a lot about myself, art, people, struggle, and adventure. It's not perfect by any means, but it's perfect for now. Thailand. Spent 10 years there and loved it. Was one hell of an adventure too. This was at the end of the Vietnam War, and the region was incredibly unstable. I romanticized British Columbia for its wilderness and outdoor sports. I've been here for just over a year now on a temporary visa, and I'm trying to get my residency. There are some things I don't like here, but nowhere is perfect. I haven't been to another place where I felt like I fitted in as much as I do here. 5 minutes in, and so far I've learned Portland sucks. NYC sucks. Tokyo sucks. Seattle sucks. Melbourne. Awesome. You forgot Paris sucks. I just moved into some mountains in the rural wilderness. Night becomes scary as duck at first, but a few nights alone you find comfort in it. I find myself appreciating people more and being a better person, while seeing less of the things I hate about our species. As a closeted, liberal Asian teenager living in the South, California always seemed like a sort of holy grail to me. So when I got accepted to college there, I decided to take a leap of faith. I was thrilled to find that California can indeed be very liberal, very Asian, and very gay. I think the biggest shock was the Asian factor. There was a surprising amount of Asian food and culture that I didn't know about due to limited exposure at home. Like takoyaki, for example. It's the best thing ever, and I didn't even know it existed. I was also used to always being in the minority back at home, which was no longer the case at school. However, I will say that the cost of living was way too high to live there permanently. I'm happy that I got to live it up during my college years without making a long-term commitment. Wow, you are so wonderful for listening. Hit like button and subscribe for more daily stories.